Okay, I'm actually going to sit down because I don't think I can stand up. Because, okay, so my story, I don't know why I'm reading this. My name is Riley, and I live on Fullerton up here in Milwaukee. And I met Tim and Neil. And when they were living in my building, and it was just a wonderful little community, and then they left, and now it's terrible. Nice when you guys come back. I'm going to talk just a little bit about Dick Jones. Is anyone from the East Coast here? Is anyone from Maine, perchance? Okay, is everyone like familiar with the Maine accent at all? It's very marked. I can't do it. But my granddad was a guy who didn't really have a lot of answers because he hardly ever talked. And I think part of the reason was he was very humbled by his circumstances. He was a Navy man, very proud of that. He was on a minesweeper for World War II, sailor, smoker, quit for his wife, had a baby. The baby was severely mentally retarded, born with a smooth brain. So after this baby turned into an adolescent, turned 14 years old, died. I don't know how he was before that, but Dick Jones hardly ever talked because I feel like you talk a lot if you feel like you have answers for things, or you just want to come to an answer. But I feel like he was, he didn't really have answers for a lot of things. One of the best memories my dad had was meeting Richard for the first time. Came home with my mom and sat down at the table and said, Mr. Jones, it's very nice to meet you. And he looked at my dad and said, call me Dick. So, another really, and I feel like I can be a little bit irreverent here. I won't say anything totally off the wall. But one of my dad's presents for my granddad when he was, when this was Christmas, he was like 80 years old. We bought him some golf tees, and on the golf tees it said Big Dick Jones. And he thought that those were awesome. There was this one time where I don't know why I was reading this. It was the Bible, and I came across this verse that said, worship in spirit and in truth. And I still don't know what that means. But I was talking to, because you didn't really talk with him, I was talking to my grandpa, Dick, or as we called him, Bam, and I said, Bam, it was so weird, because you would always try to talk to him, and he literally wouldn't talk back to you. And it's like, so Bam, let's see if I can get some words out of you. So Bam, what do you think worshiping in spirit and truth is? He's like, you know what? I'm not sure. I'm not sure. And I was like, that's a big surprise. That was 3 words, wow. And so, I went home after that Christmas, and I was starting up school again, and my mom calls me up and says, Riley, there's a letter in the mail from Bam. I'm going to send it to you. And I was like, okay, sounds good. So it got there one day in college. I opened it up. There's a 3-page letter from my grandpa about what it means to worship in spirit and truth. Big confession, I never read that letter. I didn't really care what the answer was. The biggest answer was that you don't have to have an answer all the time. With our culture that just fills things with words, we fill spaces with words. It's okay to delay talking. It's okay to live in the silence because there's a lot of power and there's a lot of answers there. They're just kind of sitting in the background, waiting to be discovered by silence. Waiting to be discovered by something other than our normal senses. And And so, thanks to that heritage from my grandpa, I now seek the answers that dwell in silence in my own way by going out into the woods or just sitting in my room and literally doing nothing and waiting for things that aren't words, things that are, a little bit deeper, like what Dick showed me. And I think that that's the important thing that I took from that relative of mine. And I think that it's also an awesome legacy that we can give each other, to not fill those spaces with words and just be still and know that God is there. One other thing I will say about Dick is that, alright, I'm going to try one impression to wrap this up. One day, I was like, hey Bam, what are we doing today? And he's like, oh, gonna go dubbing in the dooryard. And I was like, alright, so I hope that everyone will someday dub in a dooryard. And if you ever find out what that means, please let me know.